Before starting this podcast, I got two words for you. Mizuki Hiruta. Hello, guys. Welcome to the Mr. Gloat podcast. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for a new season. We are back for a fresh start, ladies and gentlemen. September 17th, 2025, ladies and gentlemen. I went through 100 episodes of the Gloat podcast on my Foxwolf channel, and I knew to myself that I had to get out of there. It wasn't the place to do it. And since I started back in March the 8th, 2024, I knew to myself that this might be a good idea to do something interesting. So with that being said, guys, this is on my new channel, guys. I already sent out links to other people to point out on my new channel, but keep it a secret for personal things from family and other people, just so they won't even get involved with none of this. Because the stuff they don't want to get involved is boxing. In about the next hour, an hour and a half, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming back, ladies and gentlemen, to the sport of boxing. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get into it, there's like a few topics I want to talk about recently. And the first topic I want to talk about is Vince McMahon strikes again. Guys, on July 2025, Vince McMahon was involved in a car crash where he was speeding 115 miles an hour. He didn't care about a police car speeding at him or trying to catch him. For some reason, the camera shows... The footage was released in public about a few days ago on February the 21st, one day before the end of the Olympic Games and the boxing event that I'm going to talk about from start to finish for you guys. Shows that Vince McMahon was swerving out to the fast lane, and then he went back to the slow lane in the highway. And he was trying to go through a blind curve, but then realized that there was another car out there, and I don't know why he was going 115 miles in the right side of the highway lane in the slow curve, and it took him so long until he finally tried to pass a car one car length away from him. Luckily, the driver he hit actually knocked out the left back quarter panel of the car, didn't scrape it, so that driver was okay, but luckily, depending if he's still okay today, Vince McMahon himself hits the middle area section of the road on the left, and he manages to park his car 200 to 400 feet away from the incident. And I'm sure the officer that stepped in to check if he was all right was really stun-locked as he just realized that he pulled over a powerful man. Yeah, I would be really stunned to realize I just pulled over a former chairman of a company that's 79 years old at the time. Like, Vince McMahon, I gotta look this up if I'm right. Vince McMahon is, no, not Vince McCarty. No, friggin' quarterback. I don't even know who that person is. Vince McMahon. Is he... Yeah, so about 1 month before the incident, he was only 79 years old, and in August he turned 80. So right now, like, Vince McMahon is 80 years old, and this, at the time as he was 79 years old, he just outright goes craziness. Like, it's kind of crazy that Vince McMahon is like he's back in the Attitude Era. Like, Vince McMahon was like and for some reason, just to let you guys know, if you haven't seen the footage, he actually said in the video to the officer that the reason he was speeding up and he didn't notice there was a vehicle and he hasn't driven for a long time is he tried to catch up to his granddaughter's birthday. Depending if there is a family of relatives that do have a granddaughter, but they don't want to share that. But surprisingly or not, depending on, because I try to look up Vince McMahon, I mean Shane McMahon, and see about his family, and even though he does have a few children, but considering trying to find personal life or family, anything else, like it does say here that he did had like some family or something, but I all we know is that Shane McMahon does have like 3 children or something, but yet again, as his personal life out of the ring and everything else, But yet again, there's nothing about this anyway. Um, Still, there's no other information, so we don't know if any. We don't know his kids or any other children that were born at the time in July. But yet again, who knows? But yeah, as of right now, yeah, the information's pulled out in public for about several months. It took a while to get that footage out, and I didn't know that that incident happened. Like I did heard something interesting about something, but I guess I was ignored by it because there was a lot of crazy stuff happening in July. We had Hulk Hogan, Ozzy Osbourne was gone, undisputed heavyweight champions all over, Jake Paul on promotion. Like guys, the month of July was so ridiculous. There's so much stuff. I don't think none of us knew about this whole situation with Vince McMahon, the car crash. So this was just new to me. By the way, guys, there's also another topic happening. Well, the PBA came back, and on February the 22nd, which is the day I'll be talking about the boxing event, an unknown figure named Brandon Bonta came out of nowhere from the number 4 seed in the PBA Players of Champion, defeats a random dude named Spencer Robarge, who knows who he is, 227 to 173, so figures that it's not going to be a chance for him to win. He takes on Jesper Spencer in match 2, 253 to 216. Nothing close about that match. He takes on former champion Graham Faw and the Canadian fighter. Another failure for Canada on February the 22nd. One figure. He lost against him, 247 to 226. And Brandon, this unknown person, comes out of nowhere in his TV debut. And in match number 4, the title match, he takes on EJ Tackett. And EJ Tackett gets a good 238. So it makes you wonder that this guy, maybe those last 2 performances might mess him up. Like, he scored out 227. He came out with a 253. He did, 247. And guess what? He gets a 300 game. He gets a perfect 300. Brandon Bonta, this unknown person, becomes the 36th PBA Tour bowler in history to have a perfect 300 game on TV. But he also becomes not just the second player in history to win a 300 in his TV debut in a championship match, which was done by a guy named Bob Benoit in 1988 in his TV debut in a different show. But this also makes Brandon the first ever bowler to ever become a major champion in winning a title match, scoring a 300 in a title match. And guys, if PBA were still promoting the $1 million bonus, unbelievable, because it surprises me. So from Wichita, Kansas, Bonta gets a $100,000 paycheck for this, but who knows how much money he has for the tournament itself. And considering I'm going to try to find information of it as I can as I'm looking it up. And mostly, like I said, the tournament started. And unfortunately, guys, everything is just starting slow. The PBA has already went on to do the CW to acquire TV rights for air 10 live PBA tours on final rounds. And they just started a couple of days ago. So Fox Broadcasting had terminated their television contract by April 30th, 2025. And with the 67th season right now, there's only 16 single tournament events and 2 doubles, as we say, and 2 non-title team events. So we still have 18 tournaments, 11 standard and 5 majors. That's 16 in a row. So yeah, it kind of stinks, but it is what it is. The third topic we would like to talk about is, surprisingly, this. And the surprising thing is, ladies and gentlemen, is that NASCAR, and just to let you guys know, this is the information that I haven't been following along, But since last November, Danny Hamlin got screwed over when one of the playoff drivers in the final four of the final race, during the final laps of the race, blew the tire and hit the wall. And I can't blame, I think it was William Byron that hit the wall for it. Gets a caution and comes out. Danny Hamlin takes a 4-tire pit stop, and the other playoff drivers get 2 tires, and Kyle passes them on. Brad Keselowski, who started off the race with the 2-lap shootout, and, well, some other driver passed him on the final turn. And Joey Logano blocked off, stopping off Danny Hamlin and giving out Kyle Larson the run in the final turns, and which, yeah, of course, it had to be Logano that screwed off Danny Hamlin there, and Danny Hamlin was just so close, losing a couple positions at the end. Kyle Larson didn't win the race, and neither Brad did, but Kyle, that had a better average finish in the entire series than everyone else, better points than non-playoff format, but the way he won the champion was just not deserving for it. So they had to switch off the points format and try to come up with new ideas as best as they could. So the NASCAR format, they had Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Mark Martin and other people at the time to talk about the format and other stuff. They will allow 16 drivers in playoffs to do a 26 race schedule for the regular season. The final 10 races will all be legit. So whether if you're the 16th driver in last place in the points, you can still battle for the final race in the final race. So there's no eliminations, none of this or that. The final 16 drivers are, so it's still a little bit of a format, chase out playoff format, but just no playoff. There's no drivers being eliminated in 3 races. So that's good. And by the way, guys, watching the Daytona 500 that day was so crazy. Like the 25th anniversary of Dale Earnhardt Sr. passing away. Not one NASCAR driver in the top 3 series has passed away since then. And we come out to the last couple of laps of the race. They're speeding off like crazy. I'm like, oh, are we going to have Carson Hocevar pull out the victory? Bubba Wallace? Or is Chase Elliott finally going to get his victory? Oh, is Tyler Reddick and the Michael Jordan racing team? Is Michael Jordan going to get his first ever 500 in the Daytona 500 with Tyler Reddick as his team? And they come out in the last 4 turns. Cars are spinning out before turn 1. And the drivers continue. And I'm like, we're in the last 2 turns. Before turn 3, I'm like, oh, God, someone has to throw out a caution, because I'm like, this is going to be like a rendition of what happened 6 years ago when Ryan Newman almost got killed. Because 6 years ago in the 2020 race, a couple drivers spun out off the turn, but nothing happened. They didn't let out a caution. And then, boom, out what happened? Ryan Blaney hit on, and he hits Ryan Newman, hits flip, and someone hits him, and then caution comes out with only 50 or 10 feet left in the race. But, hey, right there, Danny Hamlin managed to pass him before the yellow flag, even after everything going on with Ryan Newman. And guess what? It happens as well. Well, the race ended with no caution, which is kind of ridiculous, because we get to the final turn and they go to the front stretch and Chase Elliott loses it. Every driver spins out and Tyler Reddick somehow gets away from it and everyone's bumping. And I'm like, as he makes it to the finish line, I'm waiting for all people reacting to this race are like, we have a fatality in the race. I thought Chase Elliott died. I really thought Chase Elliott, I thought Bubba Wallace was dead. Someone died. And I was watching it at that time that something was wrong. But luckily, nothing bad happened. So it was great that nothing bad happened, but you do look back at it and think to yourself, something would have been a rise for that, because whatever happened, at least everyone made it home safe. But it makes you wonder that those moments that would happen would come bite us, and we have to be prepared for that stuff. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Ryan Preece actually won the Bowman Gray Stadium race by completing 46 laps. Even he actually passed out Shane Van Gisbergen in the last 45 laps of the race, and they had drivers. We had a multitude of 17 cautions in a Bowman Gray Stadium. Like, geez, that's funny. Like, take that for what you will, but 17 cautions. Wow. Like, the Bowman Gray they had last year ago was a little bit of a doozy of how they only had 7 cautions. They upped that up to 10 more in next year's race. Crazy. So technically, the Busch Clash race breaks the record of the most cautions. So, which is kind of funny that they even did that if it was an accident. But yeah, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. So 48. So the Busch Clash has held their 48th annual race. And guys, even if the Bowman Gray Stadium happens again next year, one more time, depending on how many spectators are going to be there, just like the 2024 Busch Clash in the Coliseum, still, it is what it is. Oh, and the 2026 dual races ended like this. Unfortunately, Joey Logano won the race and Ryan Preece finished 9th. So technically, weren't even close on having a Triple Crown winner, which stinks. And of course, Chase Elliott won the other race, so that's that. Yeah. And the final topic, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into this, we're almost at the 20-minute mark. As for the boxing world, there's a lot of stuff happening here. So here's the thing. After I left at the time, Fabio Wardley became champion after having an amazing win, a controversial win, when he fought in October the 25th in London. A judge stopped him off during the 11th round when the referee had a technical knockout, stopping him in the championship rounds. And even if Joseph Parker did stay alive in that fight and kind of won instead of Fabio, he had a little bit of a problem of a drug test problem at the time. So that would have made it more controversial for him to fight against Alexander Usyk for that reason. So I think this whole idea, even if Joseph Parker or Wardley, one of them won, it didn't matter, because I don't think Usyk was going to fight Wardley, and he isn't, and they are friends. So, and Parker, yeah, his drug thing got problem. And better yet, guys, the WBA at the time had Murat Gassiev defeating Kubrat Pulev on December the 12th to win the WBA regular belt. And that 6-round fight was crazy, right? Pulev was just studying the jabs. He was giving the Russian a hard time, and then round 6 sets up with a punch. Kubrat just could not get back up quickly in time. So that means Gassiev not champion, but surprisingly there. January the 3rd, Agit Kabiel retains his WBC interim belt, almost like how Fabio Wardley defeated Parker for his WBO interim belt, but then weeks later, he was given the WBO belt, which makes you wonder that maybe Parker was not going to be handed the WBO belt because of his drug test problem. Guys, that would be crazy. If Joseph Parker won, would that whole idea would have changed? Who knows? And then around before December, yeah, Alexander Usyk wants to challenge out Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's excited. We have arguments with him and Derek Chisora. And then for some reason, finalized matches never get finalized. They say Wardley will take on Derek Chisora, and that fight doesn't get materialized. Moses Atama's trying to take off with Jermaine Franklin, but that never materialized. But now it does on March the 28th. And then better yet, from the month of April, we have Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora, both of them fighting for their 50th fight. And Fabio Wardley, guess what? He does the same thing as Dillian White did after he defeated Filip Hrgović for the IBF interim belt. He defends a belt against a British fighter, which is Anthony Joshua, and then lost against Usyk. Fabio Wardley wins, and now his first title defense is a British fighter, Daniel Dubois. Guys, it upsets me that we have Filip Hrgović. He's from Croatia. Efe Ajagba from Nigeria. Even though we do have a Nigerian champion, one. Arslan Makhmudov. No chance for him. And we also heard that he's going to fight against Tyson Fury, so that's going to be crazy to watch. And Bakadir Jallow from Uzbekistan. And we also have Zhou Zhang from China. And also Martin Bacali from the Democratic of the Congo, who is also British, but the Congo, so it makes sense why he's failing in British. So it's so bad that these countries that have never had a chance to fight for a championship, or they have but never won a championship, are not getting these opportunities. It's these British fighters are fighting against themselves in British, and then they fight against Alexander Usyk to get nothing. It's so bad. And Alexander Usyk is the one getting all the heat from these British fighters because no one can beat him. Like, I think Alexander Usyk knows that mostly fighters like Zhou Zhang and Bakadir Jalolov, Efe Ajagba, and Phil Pergovich, and Agit Kabayel from Germany, and I'm afraid that if Lawrence O'Colly fights him, that's going to be a whole different ballgame. And I understand, like, it is what it is, but there's no point in trying to see it like this, but yeah, it's ridiculous. And by the way, guys, the month of February really ranked out these fighters, which is crazy. So I just don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. But still, it's just so bad to see it this way. Anyway, guys, with all this being said, and with everything going on, and I would like to talk about how there's unified minimum weight champions and unified light flyweights and super flyweights, and how Wildebardo Garcia can still keep his IBF title, and we can still have an undisputed fight for Jesse Rodriguez, even though Kenshiro is trying to get a 3-weight class, and that's never going to happen for him because he's not better than Jesse the Bam Rodriguez, and Bam is trying to become the first one to become undisputed super flyweight. So who knows, and who knows for Naoya Inoue, because they're staying to have a fight with Junto Nakatani. But the real story goes, ladies and gentlemen, is this. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to review our first ever major, and the reason I'm coming back right now is to talk about the last major heavyweight title that's happened. And even though those other fights were interim belts and the regular belt WBA, which I might talk about that soon. I did it somewheres, but the real thing is, guys, we want to take you viewers live on February the 22nd. Hours and hours after the USA defeated Canada in men's for the gold medal, even days after the women's hockey ended the same way for American defeating Canada, 2-1 as well in overtime. I was an upset person, and I was like, there's reasons for this, but we have to do it. Live on DAZN, Little Caesars Arena, Detroit, Michigan, USA, promoter with Marshall Kaufman and Dimitri Salida, the guy that was going to terminate off the contract for Claressa Shields, but now she's back with him. Matchmaker Marshall is also there with Steve Clement and Brandon Segalas. The Michigan Unarmed Combat Commissions are live here on DAZN. We are set. So the matches, I'm only going to skip all the matches and talk about the last 3 matches on the show. But we had interesting moments where we had a guy named Sardius Simmons wins his 7th professional fight from Flint, Michigan, ranked 216 in the heavyweight. Jaquan McElroy from the super welterweight gets his 5th win. Lance Smith gets his 6th undefeated win in the welterweight. Jasmine Hampton gets her 2nd professional win in the light flyweight, ranked number 60, and she's from Michigan as well. Price Taylor is now 11-0 in the heavyweight, and he is 275 pounds of Price is Right, which is his alias name, with a Y, and he's ranked number 75. Savannah Tini, Tinei, is now 7-0 in the super lightweight, and she's also from Michigan. Guys, the state of Maine and New England just can't catch a break with this. The talent's right here. Why don't people travel over there? Chanel Butler also gets her 7th win in the featherweight, and she's ranked number 10 as a southpaw fighter. She's from Pennsylvania. And that's about it. But before we get to it, guys, Samantha Warrington was a world champion at her time in the boxing world, as she was actually a tough opponent, as she was the WBA interim super lightweight champion in July during the time with Alani Daniels and Claressa Shields, defeating her by a waste of time of a fight. And with all this happening, and even yesterday, Sandy Ryan already won the vacant WBC super lightweight title after Katie Taylor vacated it. And Sandy's win against Carla Ramos Zamora by a close, good majority decision. So we'll see how that goes. Well, Edith Soledad Matias, a woman with 20 wins, 16 losses, 1 draw, comes into the fight as an underdog, injures her opponent Samantha, and after the end of the 8th round, Samantha's hurt badly. And even when looking up, in my opinion, the scorecards read nothing for me other than Samantha might have had some great wins. And I did have her winning 5 rounds to 3, but yet again, you can debate that. Because by the end of the 8th round, the corner stopped the fight with the last 2 rounds, and Samantha lost the belt 12-0. And I knew that her run was over there, and she just, like, after her 11th professional win in February the 2nd, also the same night where Claressa Shields became undisputed heavyweight against Daniel Perkins, who is also fighting this night, she barely squeaked out an interesting 8-round fight with a couple judges and almost lost against Victoria Pete in July for that interim belt. So I just had a feeling she might have not had it, but the way her opponent that was turning out to become a jobber wins this belt, that's ridiculous. Imagine if Katie Taylor strips all her titles and Edith becomes champion. That would be a crazy moment. So, yeah. But I'm not going to get to that because that's just hilarious. So now, with that being said, guys, let's get down to business for the professional boxing. So, guys, I was already upset at the time with everything going on, and I'm like, I was really upset that I was just, like, I was really upset that Canada lost against USA in women's hockey a few days ago, because I thought, like, even though USA did dominantly and for some reason Canada did some wild moments and they almost won gold medal by giving the USA a big choke after their domination, and USA barely squeaks out, and their captain scored their goal in the last 2 minutes, and she breaks the record for the most goals in the Olympic Games, and then under 5, not even 5 minutes into the overtime, one woman in a 3-on-3 overtime, just like men's hockey, comes in, and one of them is alone in a 1v2 and 3, and she scores the goal. 3 days later, the Americans, not even 2 minutes into the competition, do an unbelievable squeak out, turn, boom, that's all she wrote. And they defeat the Canada 46 years after their last gold medal of Miracle on Ice. Even though the Americans never played against Canada in 80, and the Soviet Union weren't their last game they played that day because they took on another team days later to win gold. But it is crazy when you look at it from that perspective. So I'm thinking to myself, Chi Connealy, she's out of her prime for this. She's 31 years old. She's taking on a Brooklyn, ugly blacked out face Brooklyn fighter that's in Texas, 43 years old, off past her prime. This grown old woman of Daniel Perkins that could not handle anything from Claressa Shields last year, even though she did better than Lonnie Daniels and probably a little bit better than Franchon Cruz. Well, 60-40 for Franchon, 40 for Daniel, so debate that if you want to. And I look at it and I'm thinking, there's no way that these two deserve... Sorry. But yeah, it just makes me wonder that there's no way that this should be a thing. Like Chi Connealy, guys, I understand. Guys, I'm still upset because of this, and I don't think I'll ever get used to it. I don't think I'll ever get used to the pain of this moment because, guys, every time I always get upset over female boxing, and when things like this happen, it just turns me into a piece of crap. Like April the 27th, 2024, Jessica Kamara goes to South Korea, wins split decision against Hyunmi Choi. What the living heck was going on? And it's so bad because one judge was Japanese, gave it to Jessica. The other was a South Korean fighter that scored it 96 to 94 for Jessica Kamara. And a guy from Cuba living in Thailand but representing the USA named Armanda Garcia actually gave it fair to Hyunmi Choi, but their Kwang Ho Jang judge gave it 96 to 94 for Jessica Kamara. Why not just score as a split decision draw so they'll make Hyunmi Choi undefeated? Wow, yeah. That night was upsetting. And then a year later, on April the 5th, Tina Ruperchev becomes undisputed atomweight in her country. 2 German female judges, 1 Belgian female judge, and a random referee from Europe. And Samira Yamanaka knocks out Ruperchev in the 9th round. Ref calls it a slip. One judge, after 10 rounds of the fight, scores it 99-91. The Belgian has it 95 even, and the second German judge has it 96-95. Majority decision, Tina Ruperchev. And guess what? Tina Ruperchev retires from boxing, and what the frig? And now all these Japanese females are becoming a failure. Like, what the frig? In atomweight. Like, here, we have Camelia Zorano, 17 years old. I understand. She's beaten up every single Japanese woman, and just a few days ago, in February the 21st, she takes on a Mexican comrade of hers after her wins against Mika Iwakawa and Sana Hazuki. Why did none of them beat up this teenage Mexican woman? But yet again, it gets worse when Gabriela Timmer from Romania, 16-2, takes on 8-2 Marina Loretta from Japan in her country of Switzerland, where they fought. And this woman from Romania, living in Swiss, wins the WBO belt. And the WBA belt, crap on that. The IBF belt is on the line. Samira Yamanaka is going to try to win it against another Japanese opponent of hers. So I guess everyone's is going to be a winner after that, if it's not a draw. And guess what? Like those moments, April the 27th, 2024, April the 5th, 2025, are just the worst moments for me when it comes to women's boxing. And I keep jabber-mouthing it so much in public because I don't want people to forget about this. February the 22nd, 2025, this is what you get. The fight where I was like, what the living frig is going on here? Chi Keneally, a woman that has a child, a daughter, giving her a hands up. She's the WBA champion since July, 1 week before Claressa Shields becomes heavyweight champion in light heavyweight against Vanessa LePage. She hasn't fought since. She's trying to sign up. In September or August, they went to the gym to meet Claressa Shields, and they want to meet each other. And I'm like, and these were the first 2 matches on BoxRec. Chi Keneally and Daniel Perkins and Claressa Shields and Franchon Cruz. The rest of the stuff happened 10 days later. So I'm like, something should happen here. And guess what? Things did happen. It just gets dumber because we come out to this like nothing happened. So both these girls are 7 feet tall. They're weighed under a good 175 pounds, so fair enough. 73-inch reach for the Australian and 72 reach advantage for the American, but still, the age gap difference is so horrendous for me to look at. So here's what I think. Like, I was like, Chi Keneally has to do something to stop the Americans from going on top. Like, the Americans, the Olympic Games are over. Someone has to stop the Americans from going wild. And the referee goes, God bless both of you, and we get to the fight. And recognizing the division. And here's the thing, guys. The commentators, as the bell starts, the commentators point out that the WBA and the IBF recognize the division. And also the WBO was also recognized as well, because even before Claressa Shields fought Vanessa LePage and won the WBO light heavyweight title as well, that bill was also legit. But the WBC, as the commentators pointed out as the fight starts, stated that the WBC has a heavyweight division that includes fighters in and around this weight class. So theoretically, we don't know if the WBC will be active since, and the WBO does not have a light heavyweight division. Okay, they say that, but there is a WBO light heavyweight belt on Wikipedia. It's just vacant. So the WBC does, all of the 4 belts in the heavyweight are now active because of Shields. The WBC is the only belt that's not active in the major, so of the light heavyweight. So we don't know why they say that. But again, the fight goes on, and I'm just going to skip this one through as best I could because, like, Chi Kaniwi comes out, scares out her opponent, and they do put themselves in an okay situation. With only, like, 1 minute into the round, they both study each other. And Claressa, Chi is actually doing an okay job scaring out her opponent. She lands an interesting couple jabs once in a while, and Perkins does throw a couple, knocks her past the rope, but again, some body punches and stuff work for Chi, but Chi doesn't score much of great knockouts and a little bit of Daniel, so there was moments I thought Daniel might do something to hurt her, but if she couldn't take care of Claressa Shields, still, Chi Kaniwi could still do something. The referee does stop them for a holding, and the first round goes to Chi. They go to the second round, and both girls are swinging at each other, and of course, there's moments where Daniel does come in, and Daniel's movement body is a little bit interesting in the second round. She ducks away, she gets hit by Chi, and Chi pushes her to the ropes, but Chi in the defensive. And the problem is, guys, I didn't like the part with 40 seconds into the round, and like 1 minute, 21 seconds left of the round, it says on screen. Daniel throws a right jab, and then Chi throws one as well. And then Daniel throws this unbelievable left that connects perfectly on Chi. And I'm like, the only thing I didn't like about this is why is Chi Kaniwi keeping her hands down? I don't know why Chi Kaniwi is keeping her hands down. I don't know why. Because she gets hit so bad, gets a right, and then for some reason her hands are down. So I didn't really like it as much. In the last 15 seconds, like Daniel just comes in for the attack and pushes her back as the aggressor. And she hits her again, and when she pushes her to another corner, and again, her hands are down. Like, I don't know why Chi's hands are always down, and I don't know why she's not taking her skills wise literally on the backboner of it, because I don't understand. So we come to round 3, and both fighters are just taking their time. They style out with jabs. They do this or that. They try to push themselves to the rope once in a while. And around the mid of the round there. And again, there is a lot of other stuff happening. But again, Kaniwi is... Kaniwi being trapped in the ropes and not even keeping her hands up. She's keeping her like this so Daniel can throw free heavy punches at her. I don't know why Chi Kaniwi's doing it. And it upset me so bad because you're looking at all of this stuff happening, because it makes me wonder, why would you ever want to keep your hands up? Now, I understand why. Like, guys, Kaniwi has not been in the ring in over 19 months. And because of so much of the political of boxing, that no one can get opportunities fighting full time. Like even Mizuki Hiruda had problems trying to get some big fights even after her win in 2022 in the title in December. Comes to June, scores her first ever knockout in the first round in June, and then comes out in January 24 to win against a South Korean fighter in the knockout. And it takes her a full year to get back to the ring in January until November in America to fight 4 fights. From January to November, it becomes Ring Magazine of the Year. Luckily, she's in America, and I hope she doesn't get a horrible mistake of getting screwed on like friggin' Yeonmi Choi or Kaniwi here, because it's bad. And by the way, guys, if you people are watching YouTube shorts of Daniel Perkins and Chi Kaniwi of YouTube shorts, and you find comments of a guy named Foxwolf making a lot of comments of rambling this or that about why are you doing this, Chi Kaniwi? What did Chi Kaniwi do wrong? I want you guys to know, I was just pissed off that day because I just wanted to ignore the hockey match that happened, because I'm still upset about Canada losing. And I just wanted to take my frustration out on Kaniwi because she effed my life up, and I think her daughter. I just hope her whole family. I hope if Keneally is home right now as we're speaking, I hope this won't affect her life because having a family while having a boxing career is not healthy. It might damage your reputation and your family. So I hope Keneally's daughter and everyone else will not have problems, but just pray that nothing bad happened. But I'm just tired of making horrible comments but still Canada losing against the Americans. Gosh, that's just not going to get used to it for a long time. But again, they do try to keep themselves together. And in the last 30 seconds of the third round, Keneally did try to put some interesting, heavy, fast punches. But of course, Daniel Perkins did put in a little bit more effort. And of course, again, Perkins did manage to throw an interesting jab. And again, every time there's punches thrown, her gloves are down the whole time. And Keneally is exposing her body so much in the final seconds of the third round that Perkins is just winning it like never before. And even in round 4, Keneally, the fourth round was a little bit hard because Perkins, like, guys, for some weird reason, I do find Perkins' boxing strats so ridiculous for a lot of weird reasons. Because Perkins goes off in a right. She misses a left. And Keneally backs her way. And then Perkins does some weird dancing moves. She goes like this, and then she goes like, yeah, and then she's blocking out Keneally to the rope, and like we're 20 seconds into the fourth round, and she's doing some wacky, weird stuff. And as a 43-year-old woman doing that makes you wonder, what would Muhammad Ali do if his brain and his body wasn't giving out on him before he was in his 40s, or even before fighting against Larry Holmes? Because that's just ridiculous body movement for a 43-year-old. And she's doing some ducking heavy, and Keneally is just not swinging nothing. And I'm like, what is going on here? Why did Daniel Perkins not do this against Claressa Shields? Well, there were some moments. She's ducking like this, like she's a hunchback. And of course, she's not landing any interesting punches as much more than Keneally is. And Keneally does manage to hold herself. And in the final 10 seconds, again, her gloves are down sometimes, but she is trying to duck off punches here or there. But there were still some jabs and other punches around the time that Keneally did manage to throw on. So I did thought the fourth round was a win. And of course, the fifth round, the last 30 seconds, the only thing I could say was the last 30 seconds of the fifth round. Keneally did had more punches thrown and such, and she did hurt on with Perkins around the fifth round a little bit. So she almost did stumble her a little bit during the final 20 seconds. And then Perkins tried to get some uppercut and other stuff happening. But again, it was another good round for Keneally. So I had it 3-2, and I thought, well, this is going to be an easy win. And then we come to the sixth round. And again, I'm just going to ignore it all because we come to round 6. Again, Perkins is now doing his weird movements. And with 1 minute in, her glove is high. And everyone's gloves are low. Again, Keneally cannot keep her hands up as much as she is. Because, again, she's doing this. She's keeping it like that. But it's affecting this here. She's trying to keep her body here, but... And again, and you have Daniel Perkins putting her arm like this and holding her glove down here to her body. So their styles are different than it is, and they haven't boxed in over a year. Well, for Perkins, it was actually February. July of a year and a half ago was for Keneally, so pretty much. And she's doing some movements here or there, and out of nowhere comes out. They're both stunning each other as they do in each round. And with 30 seconds, Perkins gets a right jab in. And Keneally backs Perkins to the rope. And as Keneally thinks that she has her, she goes straight in for the attack. Perkins attacks back with left and hits with the right. And what the heck? And as she's down on the canvas, the cameraman cuts to another angle where Keneally's mouth is bleeding from the side of her jaw. And I'm like, what the frig? Her mouth is bleeding. I'm like, how is her mouth bleeding? And she gets back up with 15 seconds, and the ref waves it off. Why did the referee wave the fight off? We had 15 seconds left of the fight. He would just said, all right, are you good? Let me see your hands. Why did the referee wave the fight off? Why did Canelo not get a chance? Why did Benjamin Rodriguez ref out this fight in a horrible fashion? And the worst part about it, why are Australian women the worst when it comes to boxing? Sky Nicholson fought against Tiara. I can't even talk. What's her name again? Friggin' Tiara. What's that woman's name again? That ugly little woman. I don't know her name again. What the frig? What's her name again? Tiara Brown. Like, why did Sky Nicholson not defeat Tiara Brown on March the 22nd in her country in the land down under? And even judges, everyone else, gave it favored for Tiara Brown, this woman that was not even off her prime. And Tiara Brown's resume was so lousy. And she even argued out and tried to tee with her in weigh-in, and she still won. And then you go to America, and Daniel Perkins is effing with her in the weigh-in. Why are black women doing this? Why are black women doing this type of crazy stuff? Like, they're just effing with their opponents and they're doing this or that. And you have Franchon Cruz and the Claressa Shields, both best friends, and they're doing it in weigh-ins as well. And keep this in mind, guys. Christy Martin and Layla Ali in 2003 or 2004, one of those years, when both of them fought each other during press conference and weigh-in, Layla Ali was doing similar fashion as well with the argument type stuff, as she was doing like her father Muhammad Ali, and she's doing her stuff. I guess maybe that's the reason why. And even though I know Layla Ali, it might be a nice woman today, but back then she was doing similar different stuff. If you watch footage of her and Christy Martin, you get what I mean. So these women in America, mostly black women, and also some are American women and white women as well, and white Asian women as well from America, do stuff like this as well. But these women they're trying to needle their opponents. These Australian girls can't catch a break. And the only Australian women that managed to overcome this obstacle without having a problem was Chernuka Johnson taking on Sharetta Metcalf on July the 11th for the undisputed belt. And even though Sharetta didn't do any crazy stuff in weigh-in and other stuff, which might be the reason why Chernuka Johnson won the undisputed, so that's interesting. But it just makes me wonder why this all has to go down. It's so bad. And to be honest, I just realized Chernuka Johnson is not just from Australia. She was actually born in New Zealand, so technically, yeah, she is in the land down under, but still, it just makes you wonder. These American women really like to F off with these Asian people, whether if they're Asian, Northern Asian, Eastern Asian, Western Asian, or Southern land down under Asian, because Australia and New Zealand and other areas from Malaysia are sort of from the Asian side of Oceania and Asian side. They're just getting effed on so much for no reason. And it's so bad for me to look at this and say that these girls have no chances of taking on American people. And you have American male heavyweight boxers that don't even have a chance against these European people as well. And these male American boxers are not doing a very good job. So that makes you wonder, what the heck is going on here? It just upsets me that Chi Connealy... Guys, I really want to book on with her and Claressa Shields and have them fight for a light heavyweight, or even try to book on for a light heavyweight undisputed championship, but this is just not right. Daniel Perkins is past off her prime. She has nothing here as a boxer. Yes, she proved herself, but she got her butt beaten, outboxed by Claressa Shields. She doesn't deserve any of it. So it just it's just not meant to be, and I just don't enjoy it seeing it. I just don't see her. I just don't see this being something I want to say this is legitimacy, because I just don't like it. But yet again, it is what it is. But yet again, guys, if someone told me that even though Mario Barrios would have scored a last round knockout against Ryan Garcia, even though he was winning all the rounds, that would have been controversy as well. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. All right. So with all that being said, guys, the semi-main event, the WBC USA Light Heavyweight Championship vacant title, Joseph George versus Atif Oberton. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this one. Okay, let's talk about the title. So, guys, I had some interesting information talking about this fight, and it's really interesting. So, October 11th, 2019, Chad Dawson wins the belt in an 8-round fight and becomes champion. The belt's been vacated, and it doesn't come back until July 13th, 2024, until Kahalil Ko defeats Quame Ritter in a round 2 TKO in Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. Later in November, that same venue, Manuel Gallegos from Mexico goes back to that venue to fight for the champion, defeats him in a round 9 TKO. Then in May the 30th, Cali goes to his country in Jalisco, Mexico, and scores a round 6 TKO win. And then in January the 24th, he takes on a former title contender named Jesse Hart in Las Vegas to score a 10-round majority decision on January the 24th, 1 month before this event. So what happened? Well, unfortunately, guys, this was the light heavyweight, and again, you have to be under 175 pounds. Cali was 173 during his last fight, and Jesse Hart was 174 and a half coming into this fight. Ko was 182 and 3/4. He was over 7 3/4 pounds, man. What are you doing? So Ko was overweight, which meant the title was on the line for Hart. But because Ko won in a sloppy fight, the belt was vacated. So now we're in this fight, and we get the fight where out of nowhere, it's so ridiculous that I'm looking at this right now and I'm thinking, because guys, at this moment, I was just thinking about clicking out of the video at the time and just thinking to myself, there's plenty of other stuff to do, because I just didn't feel like watching this boxing event anymore, because I just wasn't interested in it, and I just didn't like it. I didn't really even give a dang about it. I didn't care about none of this crap I was watching. So I just felt, what was the point? What was the point of watching any of this? But of course, so guys, I don't know if there's going to be any fight footages of this. Like, there was some footage that was trying to be fought at the time, and I did watch it live, but I don't know why there's no fight footage of archives. But we will try our best to to get our stuff into this as we speak. So the fight goes on, and I was thinking of just watching a couple rounds. I wasn't really paying attention to as much, as both guys were studying each other in each round. Atif was getting his best shots in, trying to start off strong. And then coming in to the fight itself, both guys come in, surprisingly or not, because both of these guys are throwing off heavy jabs, and again, one of them is starts left and the other starts right. So And keep this in mind, guys. I was thinking to myself, this was not going to be much of a fight, but considering just like what happened last year ago with Skyward Lacey and Brandon Moore. But even though Atif is a southpaw fighter and Joseph is an orthodox, so it would have been interesting to see either way. So technically, they just went on to each other and just about coming out to the fight of the fight. Um, Before you know it, the moment comes into the fight where George, out of nowhere, tries to set off a jab to his orthodox. He comes in, tries to speed in, and boom, we get a headbutt, and then George stumbles, hits to the canvas. The referee calls it a slip, and we later realize that both of them headbutted each other, where George came in without a hesitation. Like, George came in, sets off, and he tries to swing out a left, and then boom, both hit each other in the head, and Atif tries to put his right glove down to knock him down. Most importantly, but nothing bad happened. The round comes to an end, and as they go to the corner to get a drink of water, George stumbles in, sits down on the canvas. Another trainer outside the ring puts a blue ice bag on his head. His coach with an army cap feeds him water, and as he's about to put it on his head, for some reason, I guess his trainer shoved him a little bit too forward, because then for some reason, one moment, George is taking a drink of water, and then for some reason, one of his opponents puts off his head, and he does the flop. George is down on the canvas, falls his body forward off the chair. His trainer, his coach are confused. What is going on here? The referee comes in. He's looking at the whole mess of what just happened. And at the time on the other side of the corner, Atif is just standing there with his coach giving him water. He's not sitting down on his court because Atif, guys, in professional boxing, you take 1 minute intermissions for each fighter in each of their corners to take a drink of water, explain what they're going to do in round 2, and that's it. So, but of course, you don't have to sit down. Some boxers can stand up because they think sitting down might ruin their legs. That depends. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So Atif is standing up, takes his drink of water. He points his glove, what's going on? And he's walking like he's like a wild animal because now he's standing on all fours. He walks over like a dog and puts his right glove onto George's other glove. While in the middle of this, he puts his body on all fours and walks like a dog and taps his glove to see if he's all right. What the heck is going on here? Is this a WWE show or something? Like, what is going on here? I have no idea what just happened other than a guy just fell down, collapsed on the floor, and of course another guy comes in and interrupts on Atif and backs him away. Well, doesn't. He just covers up George so he won't be bothered by Atif. Atif gets back up and minds his own business, and they call the fight off. Round 1, cornerman retirement. Atif wins the belt. But at this moment, I'm like, what just happened? To this day, it is hilarious to understand what happened. Whatever did happen, it was a good thing no one got hurt because moments later, they finally do get George back up. And guys, it's so weird because I've never seen this before where a fighter sees his opponent hit the canvas. The other opponent's coach is standing there not knowing what's happening. The referee is down on his knees knowing what's happening. And he's not even fooled by what Atif is doing. And a guy in a black suit comes in to check, which might be the doctor. But of course, George gets back up. Him and Atif both hug each other. And that's it. But guys, this has to be one of the weirdest boxing moments in history that I'm happy that it ended. Unfortunately, guys, for the next half hour, we're going to have singers, people dressed up in black and white, people singing the national anthem, people singing songs, doing a cappella stuff in the ring before the fight happens at 10:30 or 10:45 p.m., a quarter of 11 Eastern Standard Time, because the fight ended at 11:15 in my Eastern Standard Time p.m. during the end of the fight. So after this fight ended at 10 or so, for the next half an hour, it was just going to be boredom of dumbness. And I did not want to know what the heck happened. So that's that. So anyway, guys, as said before, Chris Algieri is now in the commentary booth as always. Michaela Mayer is also there, and as they're thinking, hey, are you going to have a fight with Claressa Shields? Oh, I certainly will, as long as she goes down the weight. Because, like, Michaela Mayer, ladies and gentlemen, as she is a three-time weight class champion, super welterweight champion. If she does go to middleweight, this will be an interesting fight. Unfortunately, Desley Robinson and Kay Scott, fun fact, let me look that up. Both of those girls are Australians, and they're both unified middleweight champions, and they have fought each other twice, one apiece. So I hope one of them can become undisputed in the middleweight. So I guess Australian women aren't a waste of time after all. Maybe in the big weight class, but still. But I hope both of them can have their trilogy matches before Michaela Mayer takes it away from them. Yeah. But still, guys, here's the thing. Claressa Shields and Franchon Cruz, WBA and WBC Unified Champion, with Shadecia Green also winning the rest of the belts. Franchon has defeated Shadecia Green before, and that's her only loss. And Claressa Shields, her first fight came in November 19th, 2016, which was the undercard of their debut with her and Deurn, both debuts. And that was the same night when Sergey Kovalev versus Andre Ward pound for pound show happened, when Andre Ward barely won a split decision in that fight. So it was a good start for their careers, and it would become different in the future. And the commentary say it's been 10 years, but if you do count the months, it was only 9 years and 3 months since their last fight. But if you want to count by years like they do, then yes, it is 10 years. So yeah, it's been almost a decade since they fought, so both of their careers are different. They're undisputed, and surprisingly, they would do craziness. By the way, guys, the only thing I really hate about this is the tail of the tape. Guys, the tail of the tape is one of the worst things I've ever seen. Like, at least the Keneally and Perkins fight, light heavyweight fight, was interesting of tail of the tape, but this was weird. So, on the left side, tail of the tape has Claressa Shields with WYNN Records, which is the record thing label. I'm sure people know about that, but yeah. She has 17 wins, 3 knockouts, 30 years old, 5'9", 174. Again, if you're over 168 and a quarter pounds, you'll be in the light heavyweight, but you can also be in the heavyweight division as well. Someone's got to change that. Guys, boxing has to change that. If you want to be a heavyweight boxer, you might as well be in the heavyweight if you're over 175. This makes no sense. Because keep this in mind, guys. Like Claressa Shields, again, 174 even. Franchon Cruz, 174 and a quarter. Daniel Perkins, 174 and a half. And 171 for Keneally. Again, like the commentators tried to explain it to us, but they explained it so badly. Because again, the WBC is the only belt that does not exist in the light heavyweight division of women's boxing. So who knows? Again, Claressa Shields, 68 reach advantage. And again, she has a Wyoming shirt with a love heart of pound by for pound. I think that was. I almost called the P4P as pay-per-view for some reason. But it is pound for pound. Wait, let me see it. I have a photo here. Pound for pound. Wait, pound for pound? Like, what does that show? Yeah, it has Claressa Shields with a heart sticker called pound for pound right here. So she's wearing a green shirt with the Win Records, pound for pound right here, holding her shirt with hair and blonde inside and black outside. And for some ridiculous reason, someone decided to turn this into the ugly skit of an ugly woman with Cruz Deurn, 38 years old, 5'8", 174.2, which is a quarter, 72 reach advantage, shockingly, 10 wins, 2 knockouts, two losses, and 1 no contest. And it shows her smiling like she's in an SNL skit. Or like she's smiling that she's almost like a stripper for somebody. Like she's almost like an ugly actor taking on makeup. Because Franchon Cruz Deurn has blonde hair, out shirt, dressed up like she is not a boxer. It's one of the most ugliest photos I've ever seen in a Tale of the Tape. And I do apologize for Claressa Shields' friend, but someone could have done better to take a better photo with the stuff she's wearing and the blonde hair that does not fit in properly in the Tale of the Tape. So I do apologize, but it just felt gross. I just couldn't look at it. I just couldn't. But yet again, it's my opinion, so I'm not going to argue about that. I just can't. Why should I argue about it? Well, who knows? Who knows? But anyway, guys, as for the fight, so Claressa Shields versus Cruz Deurn for undisputed heavyweight champion. I don't know. I mean, it has its moments, and it does have, of course, their female referee with her WBC ref shirt on, Sparkle Lee. I'm sure Sparkle Lee is on her 25th anniversary when she started her heavyweight, her refereeing back in 2001. She was also known for reffing Chernurka Johnson's undisputed bantamweight fight last December, a few months ago, and the Ellie Scottney versus Yamileth Marsado Unified Champion July the 11th with the undercard of the Serrano and Taylor 3. And also doing Michaela Mayer defeating Sandy Ryan in September of 2024 for the WBO welterweight champion. And, and a few weeks later, she also went to Japan to ref Kosei Tanaka's WBO World Super Flyweight Champion against the African fighter of, what's his name again? I'm going to try to look. Famelela Kafu, if I pronounce that right. And, of course, the African won by split decision, 114 and 113 with 2-1. And so pretty much, yeah, she has reffed some interesting fights. And she even reffed a fight in November for the light flyweight division for an IBF belt, which ended in 2 rounds by knockout. So, and did other refereeing fights with Cameron versus Taylor 1, where Cameron defeated Taylor's undefeated record to become undisputed super lightweight in May of 2023. She also refereed the fight with Terrence Crawford versus David Avanesian for his WBO belt in December of 2022. So yeah, Sparkle Lee, surprising to referee the fights, and her being a female referee has kind of made boxing really interested at its time. So it is interesting to have her referee this fight, but it makes sense. And it does make sense for the fight to start out with Franchon Cruz doing the offensive, pushing Shields out, missing punches, by the way, but Claressa Shields being on the defensive. The crowd are going bananas in only 15 seconds. And I'm like, geez, Lamweed, what is going on? And by the way, guys, even though they're both 174, Claressa Shields' body is more well-built, not built than a 5'8" woman. They're both in the same height. But still, Franchon Cruz has a bigger large, big body, and it might take her stamina on. 45 seconds left in the fight, and she's still throwing off jabs. She tries to do something. We have some looping Deontay Wilder, body punches, this or that happening for Shields. And the first round comes to an end like crazy. The first rounds of the fight are so crazy because, guys, the first couple rounds is Deurn being the offensive and Shields being the defensive. And in round two, again, she's trying to throw some punches, covers her to a rope, and she can't land his punches. Like, some of the punches she does land are not cleaner than Shields is punching, as in the defensive side. There's a moment that she tries to throw on a punch, and she's getting, like, she's delivering these punches one after another. And the commentators point out, even if she does try to trade off 4 punches, Shields is going to throw like 6 punches. And Michaela Mayer is having their own opinion. We come to round 3 with 40 seconds left in the third round. And again, both of them are just clattering at each other. Now Deurn is now trying to clinch her opponent as much as she could, because for the rest of the fight, that's what it's going to be. And even coming into the end of round 3, she's already getting hurt, tired. And I love that in some of the fight I love that one of the commentators pointed out that every time you hear the 10-second clap, which is the warning for 10 seconds left of every round, every time that happens, the commentators say, every time that happens, Claressa Shields goes for the kill. And that's what she does in round 4. And of course, Deurn is already tired. The first 3 rounds were interesting. And even one of the announcers gives round 2 for Deurn, but I think Shields did a much better job in those rounds and the remainder of the fight, because by the end of round 3, round 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 would be Shields being the offensive. And even in round 5, it would be different because both of them are just staying away from each other. And again, guys, Claressa Shields is not a knockout fighter. She's not a knockout expert. Claressa Shields does not have what it takes to score knockouts. She doesn't. And I feel bad. She's mostly much just a power speed puncher. And even after over multiple rounds in the fight, she's been landing over 100 punches and under 300 punches after 5 rounds of fighting. Even though her opponents throw 200 punches, but couldn't even land 100. And even in round 6, she's already getting tired, throwing clinches. Every time Claressa Shields goes for the kill, Franchon clinches. She can't get nothing done. She's tired. Her stamina's low. There was a moment in round 3 where during the final seconds of the round, she's getting hurt, and Deurn stumbles and almost fell, but then regained her balance by the end of the 3rd round. I even realized coming into the 7th round, I realized Sparkle Lee, the referee, had an IBF tag behind her back as well, which is kind of funny. And even in round 8 was not much of a round as well, because there was a moment with 30 seconds left of the fight. Franchon's just putting her ropes behind, trying to stop Shields from punching, to clinch. And even coming into the round or so, like, there was a moment where there was a time that when everything happens, Shields gets up on it. Like 25 seconds left, they clinch each other, and then Shields comes in doing this weird thing. They say clinch, and she turns around like that and just punches Franchon even when they say break the clinch. So I don't know why the referee didn't warn her for that. You come to the 9th round, and again, they're just like, it's not a boring fight, but it's not a fight I was enjoying it. Like, again, Daniel Perkins was a more entertaining fight than this, but at least Deurn was doing a more smarter strategy than how anyone would do, like Perkins did, even though Perkins was winning rounds. At least, like, Franchon Cruz did better than Lonnie Daniels than in July with Shields. But yet again, there was just nothing good about it, because I just could not see any good thing about anything in this fight. Like, it just goes to show you that Claressa Shields is a great fighter, but there's just no good opponents in the top weight class. And at this moment, because of what happened to Chi Kanili, my idea is, well, you might as well go down the weight class and just strip the belts and fight in the super middleweight against Shadesia Green to go for undisputed super middleweight. Like Chi Kanili is done for. There's no point of you fighting Perkins. Yes, the IBF champion right now in the light heavyweight is Sarah Skurich from Germany. She defeated Lonnie Daniels last December, but I don't think she even has what it takes. So I'm looking at it like that. There's no point in being in the heavyweight or even the light heavyweight. So why not just not? Just I just don't know. I just didn't like it this way. Coming into the 10th and final round with Lennon Jr. just trying to hype us up for the 10th and final round. And again, I just can't see it this way. They both touch each other's gloves. And like guys, like I said before, Deurn cannot do nothing. She keeps clinching. She gets tired. She's not doing a lot. Like she's not throwing a lot of punches, but she's not. All her energy is gone. And even in the championship rounds of round 8 and round 9, her body's just done for it. And Shields is taking her time, just taking it easy for each round until the 10th and final round, where Shields goes back to her defensive side to do the unthinkable. And the unthinkable is attack Shields as she did in the first few rounds. And that's what Deurn did. The last 2 minutes, like guys, the last 2 minutes of the round were the best. Like both of them are using their energy. Deurn is now using more of all of her energy after all being wasted. She's not won a single round in this fight. One of the announcers did say round 2 was for Deurn and everything else was for Shields. And you go this way and then you go that way. And like, again, Shields is just better than her. Again, we come into the seconds of the fight and again, with everything going on is crazy. And by the way, guys, I did forget to mention, guys, before coming into the end of round 3 or maybe the end of round 2, while the girls were taking water breaks for some reason, I feel for a good reason because they take a 1-minute break for each round of intermission. Someone was playing a rap song saying, "Punch this whore," or "punch." Someone was playing a rap song of the rapper repeating the same thing as like, "Knock this whore down," or something. Like it was somewhat of a dirty type slang rap word for some reason, and I don't know why they were playing this in the arena. The rapper was repeating it over and over again for a bunch of times. So I don't know why people were playing that in a venue like this. I don't like it. I didn't. But again, you come into the last ending remainers of the round, and again, when the last 10 seconds come, Franchon's energy's down low, and she does try to throw some punches at the end, but her punches are too slow. And by the way, guys, there was a moment coming into that final round where Deurn, again, pushed Shields, and she was throwing every remainer in the first seconds of that final round, and I was like, oh no, Shields is going to lose. Sparkle Lee is going to spark controversy and wave the fight. And that would have made me happy because I was tired of American going on top of the world after everything that happened after the Olympic Games ended. I was tired. But no, that never happened. So, but just imagine if Sparkle Lee did stop the fight and gave it to Franchon Cruz. That would have been controversial if she did that. But man, crazy. But of course, it wasn't meant to be. But of course, Lennon Jr. comes in. All 3 judges have it 100-90. Winner, still undisputed, Claressa Shields. The Gloat. So yeah, so technically with all that being said, Claressa Shields is just a better fighter, a better woman, and probably the greatest of all time. Because when you look back at this, and I'm thinking to myself, There's no point in fighting in the heavyweight. Chi Kaniwi's record is dead, so there's no point in fighting in the light heavyweight. So what's next? Now, of course, I'm sure so the ring announcer announces the winner, and then they get a side ring reporter to come in and to announce the winner for Claressa Shields. And of course, Claressa Shields points out that her next fight, she would either take on Shadesia Green, go back on to 162 or over, and try to go over 162 to fight Shadesia Green. Watch out, I might fight Franchon Cruz. She's champion there, so get ready for a third fight. How about we just have Shadesia Green and Franchon fight each other for those undisputed belts, and we'll see who wins the belts. But yet again, Shields did say that, if Michaela Mayer wants to go up another weight class for 160, then we'll see about that and see how that goes. And so it will be interesting. And of course, she thanks the winners and such. And of course, Dimitri Soida comes out in his promotion and he's glad to have her fighter back. And as in the middle of their conversation, Claressa's coming out to, where's Shadesia Green? Where is she? Is she here? Unfortunately, Shadesia Green is not in the venue right now. And as during this time, Franchon Cruz comes in, interrupts the mic, and she thanks her Baltimore crew, everyone for having here. It's great that her and I are friends still. And that's it. So for all the argument and the weird stuff they had in press conference, this or that, weigh-in, they're now friends. That's the thing I just don't like about it. Do they really hate each other, or is this just an act? And I just hated that Chi Kaniwi was not taking herself serious against Danielle Perkins, and that upsets me more. So it really does make me wonder, why would you ever want to do this? But yet again, I always have to say to myself that this is the reason why we have to be more precise about females in America. Because Michaela Mayer might throw out an interesting win here against Claressa Shields. But yet again, I will say to everyone else here, we have to be careful, because one day something big will happen. What will happen? Well, that's up for you people to decide. So maybe something big will happen, something won't. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen, guys? The world champion are here, and that's all that matters. But Claressa Shields, she defended her titles 3 times for the WBC, and I think that's about enough to do in the heavyweight. So, and she's 18-0, 3 by knockout. I would say give her a couple more fights in the heavyweight, and then maybe quit boxing or something like that. Start something else different in your life, and give some other person a chance, because at this moment it's there's just no point for me to think that Claressa Shields has what it takes. And even several months ago with her in her argument with Laila Ali, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. But yet again, who doesn't? And by the way, guys, Michaela Mayer holding her super welterweight titles, another woman named O'Shea Jones is the IBF champion with 9 wins and 3 by knockout. Her last 2 wins were so hard because she barely defeated Femke Hermans, another good tough fighter, and barely squeaked out a split decision against her in 2024. And then in July the 25th, she defeated Elia Carranza for her IBO and IBF championship welterweight belts by split decision. So will her and Michaela Mayer take on each other for those undisputed belts? Yet again, who knows? But yet again, even if Claressa Shields can actually do something, like you could say that Claressa Shields can go off to super middleweight, fight out anyone there, whether it's Shadesia Green, or it depends if Franchon Cruz will lose her belt or not. And if they're going to do a third fight, they might as well do it now here. Fight Shadesia Green this year, or have her fight Deurn if Deurn can recover from this. And that's it. But yet again, we don't know when that moment will come. And with all that being said, I really can't say to myself that this is going to go well. But yet again, I really can't say that any of this is going to be interesting. because it might not happen. These matches could happen, but then again, they won't. And forgive me because every time I can look at this stuff, I could talk about the organization belts, the weight classes all day long for women's boxing, but the more I explains it, it puts me in a conundrum because some of the stuff I'm saying might not make sense. And to be honest, to be honest, guys, it's interesting because you have to understand, you viewers have to understand some of these things that I have to tell you people is this. And the thing is, there's a lot of stuff that you might get underestimated. And forgive my pergnosity here because we're almost 90 minutes into this right now, and just to let you guys know, I just don't know what to say about this. At the end of the day, it is what it is, but February the 22nd, 2026 is just 1 year I'm going to keep arguing for the rest of my life because this was the day that I just hated it. Because, guys, if I ever have an ephemeral, which is a term word for having a very short time, mostly, thinking of everything going on, technically, I really can't say much about anything I can ever talk about other than whatever will happen, it will happen. But you know what? Like, guys, the only thing I feel like doing is just being a bravado. That's what I feel like being right now. Just being just a guy just swaggering and being just a boldness person because I'm just really feeling that there's just so much stuff I could do other than review stuff like this. But yet again, it is what it is. So the last thing I want to tell you guys before we end this podcast, it's great to be back, and I'm happy to be back, starting a new YouTube channel. Great to be back here. The last thing I want to tell you viewers is this. If I ever do live stream videos, I don't want to live stream videos like content like this. I always feel like doing gaming videos and other stuff and recording stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. I love Shy Lily, but I do love USADA Pecora more because her content is gaming content. And Shy Lily, a lot of her content is her for the next several hours just talking to the viewers, maybe sharing videos and such once in a while, but it's not that entertaining to me. And I just don't think talking to myself for a long time is a good idea because it could destroy my voice. But that's not the point. The point is, I always feel like doing stuff like how Markiplier collabs with his friends Bob and Wade and they play video games. I find that entertaining for content live and to make content for it on YouTube. I find that entertaining. But guys, for content like this, I always feel like doing it like 90 minutes. Like Memphis Wrestling used to do stuff back then where they run a show for 90 minutes. Sometimes doing a 1 hour wrestling show is too short. Sometimes doing it for 2 hours could be a little bit too long, but better than 3 hours. 90 minutes just puts you in the middle of it. So it's great that I've managed to do 90 minutes of this because I think it's better than ever, but I'm still going to get used to trying to put out different content. But considering how bad of my editing I did last year ago and all the videos that were I try to make it entertaining, but yet again, sometimes these podcasts are not always that good. But it's something that enjoys it. And that's the thing. But you know what, guys? I always want to have people do stuff like the reason I was loving the podcast stuff is I always wanted to do my podcast similar like the Deadlock podcast, like how the Deadlock podcast have their content being a YouTuber doing sync content in sync where where I'm talking about something and then someone edits videos and then records them in sync while me talking about it. And I just hope a YouTuber will come around, watch my content, and will enjoy the stuff I'm doing, because I do want to do stuff like the Opie Anthony does, or similar like how the Wrestling Observer newsletter with Brian Vinny and Craig show did their stuff reviewing, like Deadlock Podcast. And so I hope I get to talk to people and be with a group of people one day and we could just talk about stuff like this. But we'll wait one day. But for now, thank you for watching my debut of my Mr. Gloat, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. And even though this is my first time recording this full stuff on my camera phone, I want to see if this works out properly. We'll be taking on an interesting idea for my channel, but we'll see about that later. So with that being said, thank you for watching this 90-minute content of the Mr. Gloat podcast. It's great to be back, ladies and gentlemen. And next time, guys, I will record another one on March the 8th, which will be my 2-year anniversary. So I'll take a couple weeks off until that time comes. But with that being said, see you next time.